I remember the camera flashes before I remember the accusation, and that still terrifies me. I stood in the hospital corridor, wearing blood-stained heels while strangers watched my life collapse on live television. Reporters shouted my name as if I were already guilty. Nurses whispered while security officers surrounded me like I was dangerous. Across the hallway, Vanessa lay on a hospital bed, crying dramatically as doctors moved around her. Her hand clutched Adrian's arm as if she were the victim who had lost everything. Adrian Cole, my husband, the man I built my world around, stared at me with disgust. Security monitors replayed footage showing me at the staircase moments before Vanessa's fall. The angle made it look like I pushed her. No one showed the part where she grabbed my wrist first. Vanessa sobbed loudly, claiming I threatened her unborn child out of jealousy. The words echoed through the corridor as cameras captured every second. Adrian stepped forward and publicly accused me of attacking his pregnant mistress. His voice was calm, controlled, and final. In that moment, I realized he had already chosen who to believe. Police officers took my risks, ignoring my attempts to explain. I searched Adrian's face, hoping to see doubt, but found only cold certainty. 3 days later, the court ruled swiftly, and I was sentenced to 3 years in prison. As officers dragged me away, humiliation burning through me. Years before the scandal, Lena and Adrian were just two ambitious dreamers sharing a tiny apartment. Back then, Adrian worked endless hours trying to build his tech company from scratch. Lena worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat while secretly helping with business proposals at night. She believed in him even when investors laughed at his ideas. Adrian often admitted the company would never exist without her sacrifices. But success changes people faster than failure ever could. Once the company exploded into a billion-dollar empire, Adrian's schedule filled with galas, investors, and new powerful friends. Lena noticed he came home later and answered messages with a guarded smile. Conversations turned into short exchanges about meetings and flights. Soon, gossip columns began linking Adrian to Vanessa Stone, a rising socialite known for chasing wealthy men. Lena ignored rumors at first, trusting the man she married. But late-night calls and secret trips slowly exposed the truth. Adrian eventually confessed the affair, claiming it was complicated and temporary. Then Vanessa announced she was pregnant. Adrian believed the child was his, convinced it was fate giving him an heir. The confrontation happened in a quiet hotel lounge reserved for elite guests. Lena arrived alone, determined to settle things calmly. Vanessa greeted her with a smug smile, already aware she held the advantage. Their conversation started politely, but quickly turned hostile. Vanessa mocked Lena's fading influence over Adrian and bragged about carrying his child. Lena demanded she leave her marriage alone and stop manipulating Adrian. Vanessa suddenly grabbed Lena's arm and accused her of jealousy. Moments later, they moved toward the staircase as Vanessa continued provoking her. Security cameras captured only fragments of what followed. Vanessa twisted her own body, screamed, and threw herself backward down the stairs. Her body rolled violently as hotel staff rushed forward in panic. Lena froze, realizing she had just walked into a perfect prison. Did not look like the movies, and the reality hit Lena the moment the steel doors shut behind her. The noise, the shouting, and the constant tension erased any illusion of safety. Other inmates immediately recognized her from the news broadcasts. Some mocked her as the rich woman who tried to kill her husband's unborn child. Others simply watched, curious whether wealth would help her survive inside. Lena quickly understood that money meant nothing in prison. Rules were controlled by alliances, respect, and survival instincts. At night, lying on the narrow bunk, memories of her old life replayed endlessly. I kept asking myself how the man I loved could erase me so easily. Outside prison walls, Adrian believed the scandal had ended his problems. He continued running his empire while Vanessa slowly moved into his life. Public sympathy painted him as a betrayed man trying to move forward, yet cracks began forming inside his business circle. Longtime partners started questioning financial decisions made after Lena's absence. Without her strategic input, negotiations often collapsed. Vanessa pushed Adrian to finalize their marriage, expecting status and wealth security. But Adrian hesitated, claiming timing was wrong due to market pressure. Their arguments became frequent and increasingly public. Meanwhile, Phoenix, through contacts outside prison, quietly helped Lena access corporate filings. Lena discovered several questionable financial maneuvers approved by Adrian's new advisors. I realized then that his empire was already unstable without me. Using coded prison calls routed through legal consultations, Lena began contacting trusted former employees. Many still respected her role in building the company and felt sidelined after her arrest. Through legal share rights, Lena influenced board voting decisions without revealing her involvement. Unexpected resignations followed among executives loyal to Adrian. 2 years into Lena's sentence, unexpected information began surfacing. Phoenix received encrypted data from a former hospital employee seeking money. Medical records connected to Vanessa's miscarriage appeared inconsistent. Lena carefully studied every detail available through prison channels. Doctor schedules did not match emergency reports. Test results lacked proper authorization signatures. Something felt wrong. Meanwhile, Vanessa secretly met a man at luxury hotels while Adrian traveled for business. Private investigators hired by suspicious shareholders started tracking her movements. Footage revealed Vanessa's secret relationship with a man connected to her past. Rumors slowly reached Adrian, but Vanessa skillfully denied everything. I felt anger rising again when I learned she was living freely while my life was destroyed. And then Phoenix delivered the breakthrough. Deleted hotel security footage recovered from archive systems showed Vanessa initiating physical contact before the fall. Frame by frame, the morning Lena walked out of prison, the sky looked strangely ordinary for a day meant to change everything. No reporters waited outside because the world had already forgotten her scandal. A single car waited near the gate, arranged quietly by contacts who still believed in her. 3 years inside had changed her posture, her eyes, and her patience. She stepped forward with controlled calm, carrying only a small bag of personal belongings. Freedom felt unfamiliar, almost suspicious after years of confinement. I told myself this was not the end of suffering, only the beginning of reckoning. Meanwhile, across the city, Adrian's company faced its worst crisis since inception. News channels reported government investigators raiding corporate offices for financial irregularities. Investors panicked as stocks plummeted within hours. Executives scrambled to distance themselves from leadership decisions. Adrian sat inside his office, exhausted and cornered by legal threats. Vanessa, frustrated and fearful, demanded reassurance that her future remained secure. The shareholder meeting room buzzed with anxiety as executives gathered for emergency discussions. Financial charts projected across massive screens displayed catastrophic losses. Adrian entered late, irritation visible as whispers filled the room. He expected routine negotiations to stabilize the company. Instead, he faced unfamiliar resistance from board members he once controlled. Votes shifted unpredictably against his proposals. Legal advisors handed him documents revealing changes in majority ownership. Confusion turned to disbelief as Lena Cole's name appeared repeatedly. Murmurs grew louder as doors opened quietly at the back of the room. Lena walked in with composed confidence, her presence freezing conversations instantly. 3 years ago, she left society branded a criminal, and now she returned as the most powerful shareholder in the company. I watched while Lena reclaimed corporate control. Another crisis brewed in Vanessa's carefully maintained facade. Private investigators hired by investors delivered explosive evidence to company lawyers. Hotel surveillance footage revealed Vanessa meeting secretly with another man repeatedly. Phone records confirmed their relationship had continued throughout her affair with Adrian. Financial transfers linked Vanessa to fraudulent insurance claims filed after the supposed miscarriage. Evidence piled up quickly. Investigators discovered medical staff were bribed to falsify pregnancy documentation. Everything Vanessa built her story upon began collapsing. Company lawyers forwarded findings to authorities seeking cooperation deals. Vanessa received notice of impending fraud charges late that evening. Panicked, she rushed to Adrian's penthouse demanding protection. He barely recognized the desperate woman standing before him. I watched news updates later, realizing lies always collapse eventually. Adrian confronted Vanessa, demanding the truth behind the pregnancy scandal. Cornered and emotional, she admitted the pregnancy never existed. She confessed staging the fall to trap him and eliminate Lena. Morning headlines exploded with revelations about Vanessa's staged pregnancy and fraudulent accusations. News anchors replayed old footage showing Lena's arrest beside new reports, exposing manipulation behind the scandal. Public sympathy shifted overnight toward the woman once labeled a criminal. Legal experts criticized the rushed conviction that destroyed her reputation. Outside corporate headquarters, protesters demanded accountability from Adrian and his associates. Shareholders feared long-term damage to the company's image. Adrian faced reporters but refused to answer questions about his past decisions. Inside, emergency legal teams worked to contain further fallout. Meanwhile, Lena prepared quietly for her next move, reviewing evidence with trusted advisors. I listened as lawyers urged immediate retrial requests to clear my record. But Lena insisted events unfold publicly before court action. She wanted truth undeniable, not quietly settled through legal paperwork. Former employees approached her offering loyalty after learning the full story. Many confessed they suspected Vanessa's deception years earlier, but feared retaliation. Adrian requested a private meeting, hoping to speak with Lena without cameras present. They agreed to meet in the company's executive conference room after hours. The building stood nearly empty when Lena entered calmly. Adrian looked older, exhaustion evident across his face. Silence stretched between them before he finally spoke. He admitted suspecting inconsistencies in Vanessa's story years ago. Yet he chose to believe it because divorce seemed easier than confrontation. His confession felt heavier than anger Lena once carried. I stared at him, remembering nights I defended his dreams. Adrian apologized repeatedly, struggling to justify decisions he now regretted. He confessed loneliness after Lena's imprisonment, despite Vanessa's presence. Lena listened without interruption, her composure frustrating his hope for reconciliation. She explained how prison forced her to rediscover personal strength beyond marriage. Every hardship inside those walls reshaped her. Authorities formally charged Vanessa with fraud, conspiracy, and filing false medical claims. Her legal team scrambled to negotiate reduced sentencing through cooperation agreements. Court hearings reopened Lena's conviction using recovered footage and testimony. Public opinion overwhelmingly supported clearing her record completely. Judges scheduled expedited proceedings, recognizing wrongful imprisonment implications. Inside courtroom halls, journalists prepared for a historic legal reversal. Meanwhile, Adrian faced civil lawsuits from shareholders citing leadership negligence. Financial settlements threatened to drain personal wealth accumulated over years. Lena, however, focused on restructuring corporate operations and employee welfare. I reminded myself success meant more. The final shareholder assembly filled the company auditorium beyond capacity. Employees, investors, and media representatives gathered to witness leadership decisions shaping the corporation's future. Cameras streamed the meeting worldwide as anticipation filled the hall. Adrian entered quietly, avoiding eye contact with former allies now seated far from him. Lena arrived moments later, greeted by respectful applause from employees grateful for restored stability. 3 years earlier, the same world condemned her as a criminal. Now she stood as the leader credited with saving thousands of jobs. I took a slow breath, reminding myself this victory came through pain I never deserved. Board members presented formal motions, transferring permanent executive authority to Lena. Votes passed overwhelmingly within minutes, ending Adrian's tenure officially. Financial analysts praised the company's rapid recovery under Lena's temporary leadership. Shareholders expressed renewed confidence in long-term prospects. Adrian remained silent, knowing resistance would only worsen humiliation. Lena addressed the assembly with calm. Following the assembly, Lena invited select executives to a private press conference. Journalists expected announcements about aggressive expansion plans. Instead, Lena revealed unexpected intentions regarding her future. She thanked employees and investors for trusting her leadership during crisis recovery. Then she calmly announced plans to step down from daily executive operations within months. Shock rippled across the room as reporters struggled to process her statement. Board members exchanged confused glances, unaware of this decision beforehand. I watched their reactions, knowing freedom meant choosing my own direction at last. Lena explained she never intended to rebuild the empire solely for personal power. Her goal was stability, justice, and reclaiming dignity wrongfully taken. Now that foundation stood secure again, she desired independence beyond past attachments. Executives protested, insisting the company needed her guidance long-term. But Lena assured them. Later that evening, Adrian requested one final meeting before Lena's departure from executive duties. They met at a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking the city skyline. Wind moved gently across the terrace as distant traffic hummed below. Adrian looked uncertain, stripped of the authority once defining his presence. Lena arrived calmly, prepared to end lingering emotional ties respectfully. Silence hung briefly before Adrian spoke. He admitted losing both marriage and company forced painful self-reflection. For the first time, he accepted responsibility without excuses. I studied his face, seeing regret rather than arrogance. Adrian confessed he often replayed her final words before imprisonment. Those words haunted him throughout every business crisis and personal failure. He asked whether forgiveness truly existed or remained impossible. Lena answered honestly that forgiveness. The courthouse steps overflowed with reporters awaiting the final ruling that would officially rewrite Lena's past. Cameras followed every movement as legal teams entered under heavy public attention. Inside the courtroom, judges reviewed evidence proving fabricated testimony and manipulated surveillance footage. Vanessa's recorded confession played once more, leaving no doubt about the deception. Legal representatives confirmed medical records had been falsified through bribery. The prosecution formally withdrew charges once used to convict Lena. Silence filled the courtroom as the judge delivered the final decision. Lena Cole was declared fully innocent, her conviction overturned permanently. Gasps and applause followed, rare reactions within such formal walls. Outside, news alerts spread globally. Weeks later, a new announcement shook the business world once again. Former partners who helped build Adrian's original empire gathered beside Lena at a downtown conference center. Media outlets speculated about her next strategic move. Instead of reclaiming dominance over old territory, Lena unveiled a new venture entirely. Her company would fund entrepreneurs recovering from financial or personal setbacks. Executives praised the initiative as both profitable and socially transformative. Former employees eager for fresh beginnings joined her enterprise enthusiastically. I realized success meant helping others avoid the isolation I once endured. Investors responded positively, recognizing potential beyond traditional business models. Company registration documents confirmed Adrian's former allies now partnered exclusively with Lena. Months later, Lena attended an international entrepreneurship summit celebrating women-led innovation. Her company now funded hundreds of small businesses worldwide. Success stories echoed across industries once closed to many participants. During the closing ceremony, organizers honored Lena for transforming personal injustice into empowerment for others. She stepped onto the stage greeted by thunderous applause from global leaders. Adrian watched the broadcast quietly from a modest apartment far from former luxury. Seeing her achievements forced him to confront consequences of past choices fully. I felt no anger toward him anymore, only gratitude for surviving what almost broke me. On stage, Lena addressed the audience without referencing past scandals directly. She spoke about resilience, accountability, and choosing growth over bitterness. Before we end the story, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment telling us what part of Lena's journey moved you most. Share this story with friends who love powerful comeback dramas and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story drop. Stay connected because the next unforgettable story is already waiting for you.